What a joke the United Nations has become. More than 78 years after its founding, the United Nations is in crisis. Conceived in the ashes of the Second World War, this organization was meant to protect humanity from the horrors of conflict and injustice. Its charter, adopted in 1945, enshrines sacred principles: respect for sovereignty, peaceful settlement of disputes, and the strict prohibition of the threat or use of force. Yet look closely at the record of its most powerful members, and it becomes painfully obvious. The UN is little more than a paper tiger. Israel's record of defying the UN. Few countries illustrate this disconnect better than Israel. Since the Six-Day War in 1967, a stream of UN resolutions has demanded that Israel end its occupation and withdraw from Palestinian and Syrian territories, most famously UN Security Council Resolution 242, 1967, and Resolution 338, 1973. Resolution after resolution has declared its settlements illegal under international law, including Resolution 446, 1979, and Resolution 2334, 2016, which reaffirmed that Israeli settlements in the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem have no legal validity. And it doesn't stop there. Resolution 478, 1980, condemned the annexation of East Jerusalem, declaring all such measures null and void, while Resolution 497, 1981, did the same for Israel's annexation of the Syrian Golan Heights. Yet, despite decades of votes, debates, and even condemnation by the International Court of Justice, the settlements continue to grow, the occupation deepens, and millions of Palestinians remain without self-determination. The UN's resolutions have no power to change facts on the ground, especially when one of its most influential members, the United States, routinely shields Israel from consequences with its Security Council veto. The United States' own double standards. The United States, which loves to invoke international law against its rivals, is equally guilty of treating the UN like an inconvenient afterthought. Consider its long record of selective multilateralism. In 1986, the International Court of Justice ruled that the U.S. had violated international law by arming Contra rebels in Nicaragua. The U.S. rejected the ruling and ignored the subsequent UN General Assembly resolutions calling on it to pay reparations. In 2003, the U.S. and its allies invaded Iraq without Security Council authorization, a blatant breach of the UN Charter's prohibition on the use of force as set out in Article 2.4. The rationale shifted endlessly, from fictitious weapons of mass destruction to vague talk of spreading democracy, while millions of Iraqis paid the price. More recently, the U.S. recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital and acknowledged its sovereignty over the occupied Golan Heights, a direct violation of UN Security Council Resolution 497 and a slap in the face to the entire international legal order. And whenever questions of war crimes or illegal occupations arise, the U.S. reaches for its veto pen, ensuring that the Security Council cannot act, making the UN look complicit in the very breaches of its own charter. A toothless watchdog. That is what the UN has become, a toothless watchdog. Its charter contains high-minded principles, but its most powerful members routinely disregard them, and face no meaningful consequences. In theory, all states must refrain from the use of force, respect each other's sovereignty, and follow the rulings of international courts. In practice, those with the most economic and military clout can bomb, annex, and interfere as they please, safe in the knowledge that they control the levers of international diplomacy. And what does the UN do? It passes another resolution that will be ignored. It watches as powerful states pick and choose which international rules matter, until those very rules become meaningless. Conclusion: the UN must be reformed, or face irrelevance. If the United Nations is to live up to its own promises, it cannot remain a stage for selective justice and empty rhetoric. Either the powerful states submit to the same standards as everyone else, or the entire system risks sliding into irrelevance, a tragic betrayal of the ideals upon which it was founded. Until then, we can only conclude what so many already believe. What a joke the UN has become.